Hi, good to see you, Jazz.
Robin. This is Robin Eisenbeis, author, speaker, and all-around badass. She's a powerhouse in unlocking opportunities, building authentic relationships, and inspiring others.
After Jesse gave his talk, and I heard other people speak, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go for 50K, 30 miles. If you have one great job, what else can you do? You just have to believe in what you're doing and stay strong.
If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would you say? I've been so excited to do this, and I don't even know where to start, but let's start with first, who are you and what do you do?
Awesome. Thank you. I'm so happy we met really recently, but I feel like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
So my name is Robin Kimball Eisenbeis, and I live in Pittsboro, North Carolina, just about 25 minutes from Chapel Hill. Mother of 3 UNC graduates, married to my husband Charlie, who is an oncologist for 34 years this December, and I'm originally from Wisconsin. Grew up with parents who are both entrepreneurs, so a very business-minded family. I started in hotel sales when I lived in Minneapolis, and
You said hotel sales?
Hotel sales.
Hotel sales.
So I worked with like big companies that would book a lot of hotel space, so guest rooms and meeting space. My degrees are economics and art history. So I did economics for my parents and art history for me. I loved art history. And that worked out perfectly when I moved to Chicago. I was still working at a hotel, and I was able to meet the owner of a fine art auction house. And she loved that I had a business background and an art history background. And so I was able to connect the two of them and became a fine art auctioneer. And I was a director of trust and estate sales. So I worked with mostly trust and estate attorneys. And we sold families' personal belongings, Van Gogh, jewelry, and
I remember you said it was like worth what, like 2 million or something?
1.4 million. It was never even cataloged. It was in an attic in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So that was really cool. I became an auctioneer and really had a lot of fun with that. And then I started my own wellness business I've had for about 15 years.
Okay.
And then I decided it was time to write a book. And so I wrote that in 2022. And now I've been speaking and recently did a TEDx talk. And I just have a lot of fun. I love meeting, people and hearing their stories like yours and, what future plans you have.
I love it because it's so, like, instantly I could feel the energy from you of like you have so much going on and like you'd never know it. Like you carry it so well. Of like, I could just speak from my experience, and when I have so much on my plate, I'm just like, I don't know what to do.
Right.
But like it seems like you love challenges, and
Yes.
And I think it was in your book you even said like you don't view challenges as like an obstacle, you view them as like an opportunity, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it keeps you young, and I like to always look forward to something. And when you have a challenge or a goal, you're constantly training, taking steps toward the next thing. And I really enjoy that.
What are Robin's biggest challenges that she set for herself this year?
Oh gosh, just this year or
just this year?
Just this year. So there are 2. I call them misogis.
Yes. I'm familiar with this.
Yes. Okay. So it's a Japanese word that basically means it's a goal that's really really scary. Like when you think about it, you get kind of like goosebumps or excited or nervous. And so my first misogi was to be a TEDx speaker, and I was super excited about it, made a list of all these, different places I wanted to speak and started looking into it. And as sometimes happens with big goals is that inner voice starts talking. And, I talked to other people who had done TEDx challenge or TEDx's or TED Talks. And there were some people who were just like, I don't know if you could do it. Like, you need to know certain people. I'm like, well, how do I meet those people?
Right.
And so that's what I did. Is a really good friend. Actually, his fiance works here at Purple Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Lucia.
Okay.
And he was a TEDx speaker at an event in Cary several years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the two of us were speakers at an event in downtown Cary, North Carolina. So I knew him. And I sent him an email and just said, Matthew, I'm interested in being a TEDx speaker. How did you get started? And I think, and people want to help. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is you just have to ask. Do your research, find out, okay, what are the steps to reach that goal? And so I heard back from him, and he said, I would be happy to connect you with Steph Sarrazin. And so he sent a beautiful introduction email to both of us. And I hopped on the phone with her like immediately. She's like, any friend of Matthew's is a friend of mine. Perfect. And so we spoke for 45 minutes. And she actually went through the whole TED training. So she told me about the different steps that were required. And I told her, kind of where I was from and, what college I went to, what school our kids went to. And she was trying to match me to the right TED program, which I had no idea. Like, I would have sent out 1,000 applications. Yeah. And she saved me all this time because I applied to 5 places. And I was successful in getting my application submitted, and then I got approved to be a speaker at Cary Academy, which is where our 3 children went to middle school and high school. Yeah. And it was just like the connection was really cool because I really felt like I was giving back to the community. TED, their mission is to inspire and share ideas, that are changing the world. And my talk is the power of names, and I just feel like if I can teach one person how to remember somebody's name, that can change the world, right?
Of course.
And so through being a part of TED, I'm hoping that millions of people will see my talk, and when they walk into a restaurant, they'll start using that person's name, like saying, Kevin, he just walked by. Kevin, great to meet you. And before I walked in here, I looked at my phone on my notes app just to refresh my memory. Kevin and Josh and, of course, Paula, because it makes such a difference. So
it does.
That is my story about my first Misogi, which I accomplished October 9th, so just a couple weeks ago. And my second Misogi, I created 2. Usually I do 1, but I created a second one because I wanted to be in control of it. Because I wasn't sure, honestly, how the TEDx talk would happen, if it would actually come to fruition.
Right.
And I just decided I'm really into health. I exercise all the time. I eat well. And I thought, what if instead of doing like a January of no alcohol, what if I did a whole year of no alcohol and just see how I feel? And so that was my goal. I started the end of December, and here we are, November 11th, and I'm almost done with the full year.
Wow.
And it's been really, I think I've inspired a lot of other people to do it as well. Yeah. And you just feel so much better, just having...
Mind's clear.
Yeah, mind's clear, just inflammation, good decisions. Never have to worry about who's driving. Yeah. We have that already set. My husband Charlie has been doing it along with me, which has been really fun. And it's been a really. So by the end of this year, I'll have accomplished 2 Misogis, which is a lot, and I'm really proud of those 2. So
the first thing, the power of remembering names. And when we were sitting in your talk today, so many people are fascinated with that. Like, why do you think that's so crucial for not only entrepreneurs, but just people as a whole? Like, why do you think that can make a world of difference?
It's a great question, and I relate it back to a bakery that I went into. I just moved to a new town, and I knew I would go to that place often, and so I was very intentional at looking at the owner. She actually's not the owner. She works there. She works behind the counter. At her name, a name tag. She had a name tag. It said Anna, and I wrote it down because I know how it feels when somebody walks into a place and they remember your name, but and still to this day it like makes me cry at how powerful an impact it has been that I remembered her name, because every time I'd walk in, I would use her name. Hi, Anna. What's new and exciting? And you could see she went from her job to like, this person really knows me, and wants to know how my day is going and what's new. And she actually, about 2 months after, going in once a week, talking to her, she was actually on the other side helping somebody else, and she came up to me and she said 2 things. The first was, Robin, you always make my day when you come in and you smile and you ask me about my day. And I said, how does that make you feel? And she said, you make me feel important.
Wow.
And I still, that was so powerful. And it was so simple. Just to remember somebody's name.
Yeah.
And then she said, so she's the social media manager at Phoenix Bakery. And usually wherever I go, I always tag the place because I like to promote places that I love. So Purple Bowl or, Jazz Media.
Yeah.
And so she started following me. I posted, love the baked breads here or whatever I said. And she said, and I started following you, and I did not know that you are an author and that you're a speaker. And I ordered your book. And she said, I'm only on the first chapter, and I now get it, how important it is. So Robin, I understand why you wanted to know my name. And she's like, and it's so nice. And I really want to thank you. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah. How long did it take you to develop the acronym SOAR? How long have you been focused on this?
Well, what's interesting is in my wellness business, I had attended a lot of business classes, how to be better at whatever it is, sales. And I used to use, and I talk about it in my book, FORM, which is the acronym, which is where are you from? So when you're talking with somebody, incorporate the questions. Where are you from? What's your occupation? What do you do for recreation? And what matters to you? And I found that with students especially, because I do like to speak with a lot of college students and high school students, it was a little bit too formal, like occupation or what matters. It was a little too intimidating.
Right.
And when I was working on my TED Talk, I thought I want something that really, it's kind of more who I am, and Robin being a bird.
Yeah.
And I always like to say it's time to soar. I talk about it in my book. I always sign my books, time to soar. And, it's a bird analogy of I love to see people succeed, and it's like you're soaring,
Right.
And so it just seemed to make sense, So that's how I came up with soar, and it seems to really stick. People like it. It's easy to remember.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's awesome. I'll tell you, just from my personal experience, it does go a long way. I can speak from my personal experience of when I reached out to you. Something I take a lot of pride in is my work ethic and my ability to pursue goals. And the first thing you said immediately when I reached out to you was "Hey, Jazz, I'm really impressed by your hustle." And I was like, "Oh wow!" That's not a just generic response that somebody just gives you.
Right.
And so that instantly I was like, wow, she's really paying attention to
You
what
definitely stand out. And can I share about how that?
Yes, feel free.
You first reached out to our daughter Dorrit because she started this tub club.
Yes.
And I don't even know, how did you first hear of it?
So literally just scrolling through Instagram. I follow a lot of things Chapel Hill.
Yep.
And so it just popped up on my newsfeed. It was a lot of people interested in this. And I was like, well, they're just starting out. I was like,
right.
I'm a really big fan of sauna and ice bath.
Yep.
And so I was like, why don't I just reach out? That's a really cool concept. I think the things you support are the change you want to see in the world. I'm
Yes.
a very firm believer in
Right.
that. And so I was like, I want to get behind something like this.
Yeah.
I love this. I don't see many people doing this.
Right.
And so I just reached out. So I was like, hey, I'd love to help y'all in any way I can. And we just hit it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so unusual that people do that. And the reason I wanted to ask you is to let your followers know
Yeah.
that you have to be brave.
Of
And you
course.
have to not think about the outcome.
Yeah.
And if you ask a lot of people, you kind of forget about like how many people you've asked,
Yeah.
because it doesn't matter. You get one yes, and that can take you really far. You just don't
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
But it was funny because when you reached out to Dorrit, she asked me, she said, so there's this guy named Jazz Media, and I actually didn't even know your name was Jazz at first. It was
Yeah.
just Jazz Media.
Yeah.
And you know, he wants to come, and what do you think? I'm like, yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
And you followed up, you were here on time, you produced the videos, you know, and the photos, and then they were able to use that. And then you took it one step further, and I'm trying to think, I can't remember, did I follow you or did you follow me?
I think I followed you.
Okay.
Because it was somehow Dorrit or Patrick maybe posted something
And tagged me in it or something.
and tagged you in it,
Right.
and I saw, and then I was like, oh, well, let me check out what she does. And then
Yeah.
I saw your
It was a TEDx talk.
I saw
Yeah.
everything. I was like, oh my
Right.
gosh, she is
Yeah.
like I'm constantly looking for people like this.
Right.
And I was like, just to be inspired by.
Right.
And I was like,
and then you reached out to me, and I really wanted you to come
Yeah.
to the TEDx talk.
Uh-huh.
But it's just, it wasn't the
Yeah, it just didn't
appropriate
work out.
venue just because
Right.
of they have a lot of requirements.
right.
But you know what? You didn't take that as a no.
No.
And then I met
It's
you.
not right now.
And then I met you here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're Jazz? Like, this is so cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and we've developed a friendship, and I've seen your work, and it's really impressive. But I think the biggest thing that you have is that hustle, and that you are, you follow up, you do what you say you're going to do, and you're not afraid to ask. And I just think if you have those, I mean, those are three skills that will continue to help you excel, and anybody could do that. It just takes the concentration and make sure you do what you say you're going to do. And but yeah, and so then you were able, like last night we were at Tub Club,
Yeah,
you know,
literally.
in the ice bath, and you know, you had mentioned you want to do an interview, and so we're trying to figure out a date, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I'm actually
I'm speaking
speaking
tomorrow.
at the UNC Business School tomorrow morning, and it'd be so cool if you could come and hear like all that I'm talking about and learn more. And I mean, it just like, and I know it just continues to happen,
Yeah.
but it's all connections, you know,
Yes.
and
Yes. And
it's
the
really
like the
cool.
right connections.
Right,
Of like
yeah,
like everything that you represent, like those are the kind of people that I want to be
Right.
surrounded by.
yeah,
Because it's like I think I can't remember what it was a saying of like you are the sum of like the 5 people
Right.
you surround yourself
it's
with.
totally true. I
And I think that's so
100% believe that. And this group that I mentioned in my talk today, All Day Running
Mm-hmm.
Co., everybody has huge goals. Like you know, you think what you're doing is really big, and then you're like, wow, that person is, you know, has an even bigger goal, and just makes you want to do more.
true. Yeah.
And I'll just go back and tell you a story about that.
Yeah.
So Jesse Itzler is the creator of this. His wife is Sarah Blakely, who most people know Spanx and now Sneaks, the shoes. And he does, this will be his 3rd year of doing this big event. It's called Running Man. And it's in a tiny town called Rome, Georgia. It's outside of Atlanta. And they rent for, I think, probably 4 days. It's an old horse track. It's a mile horse track. And so it's like a 3-day festival. And Jesse brings in like Rich Roll and all these amazing speakers, you know, who are really into health. So he attracts, there's thousands of people that go, okay? And so you're with people who are thinking the same way as you,
Yeah.
all in this one area, and you're with them for 3 or 4 days. So the night before, so you sign up for a race, and you could do a 5K, a 10K, half marathon, marathon, or a 50K. And I had neck surgery a year ago, and so I kind of missed out on some races.
Uh-huh.
And my neck surgeon had told me when I was finished and healed, he's like, yeah, I think you could do, a half marathon. You could probably do 2. There's one coming up in Virginia. So I thought, you know what? So Jesse gave this like really inspirational talk. He always says, empty the tank. Like, do more than you think you can do. And so I had signed up for the 5K because I'm like, I'm still kind of recovering. And Charlie, my husband, signed up for the 10K. And so I started, and you'd never know what lap people are on, because it's just, everybody is just continually going.
They're all just going.
And so it's not like, oh, he already finished or she finished. Everybody's still going.
Yeah.
And after Jesse gave his talk and I heard other people speak, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go for a 50K, 30 miles. 30 miles. I mean, it makes me like, very emotional because it was such a big goal. I'm like, but I didn't tell anybody about it. I didn't even tell Charlie about it because I didn't want anybody to talk me out of it.
Yeah.
Not that Charlie would have. I didn't want anybody to say anything. I believed I could do it, and I wanted to see how I felt.
Yeah.
And I did it. 30 miles.
That is insane.
But again, it shows you that if you surround yourself with people who are doing great things, and you have a belief that you can achieve that goal, your health is good. You just keep going.
Yeah.
And so that was really amazing.
And I think I can't remember where it was exactly, which chapter, but it was when you were talking about goals and setting goals, and you were talking about Dora and how her field hockey coach had told her she wasn't going to make it. She just wasn't cut out
Look
for
for a
it.
D3 school, And nothing wrong with D3, but Dora wanted D1. I mean, she wanted the top of the top.
Yeah.
And I mean, it just like, and so she wrote everywhere in her house, little Post-it notes, just that she could believe it, prove people wrong.
Yeah.
And as you know, this is her 5th year playing at UNC Chapel Hill, #1.
They just won the conference championship.
ACC championship. She has 5 ACC rings and 3 national championship rings.
Crazy.
And if she would have listened to other people, that maybe she didn't have it, and they may have put their fears on her,
of what they thought it was possible from their mindset.
Yeah, right. She's worked extremely hard, and it's been so fun to watch her just excel.
Let's go into that. You actually swam in college, right?
Right.
Did you swim your whole life? Was that
I
something
grew up swimming.
Okay.
We had a pool in our backyard, so I definitely grew up swimming. And in our high school, I did well. I went to states in breaststroke, and I was the only one on the team that made it that far. So I'm like, well, maybe I should look at swimming. And I had a really good friend who swam at St. Olaf College. And so I was recruited by that one school. I mean, I didn't really look at a lot of other schools because I really liked the college. It was in Minnesota, and I'm like, it is a D3 school. And I only swam 1 year. For me, it wasn't like Dorrit. I wasn't as driven with swimming because we actually had, the main reason was we had an interim coach the year that I swam.
Okay.
And your coach is everything,
Yes,
and
of course.
I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it as much. High school swimming was so fun, and it was a different experience. But I still swam 1 year and, did well, and then decided to go on to other things,
What did you major in?
Art history, well, I should say economics was my business, and art history, which I just loved. It was a lot of fun. I liked having a very artsy side, and just more creative side, I should say.
Right.
But I knew business was important to have some kind of a business background.
And tell me, as an entrepreneur, what is some advice to entrepreneurs who are just coming out of college?
Network, get out there and just meet. I think COVID I think COVID just brought people inside, and I think people are still really cautious about getting out and face to face. I mean, even if it's coming to a coffee shop and just being around people and talking to people, um, and obviously remembering names, reaching out, be active on social media. I mean, LinkedIn is a great. Any of the venues are great. I think LinkedIn for business connections is really good. And ask everybody if you know kind of the direction that you want to go in. Ask them if they have people that they could refer you to.
Right.
And you have to just put yourself out there. Tell everybody you know what you want to go into,
Right.
and you just never know who that one person is. And there may be many,
Right.
that are going to be able to connect you. So
You are clearly a very extroverted person. Have you always been that way? Are you ever like introverted in any kind of way?
I mean, I definitely enjoy time in nature where I'm not talking with people. I like to say I'm an ornithologist without the degree. So I think I recharge my batteries out in nature,
Yeah.
and just,
Yeah.
I think everybody needs that.
Oh, for sure.
I think I've always been like this just because my parents were both extroverts,
Really?
but I think a lot of people feel that they can't, or that they may struggle in business if they're not an extrovert, and I totally want to say that that's not true. I think
Really?
it's just who I am. But I think if you are an introvert, you might need to just put yourself out there a little bit more and be a little bit more brave.
Yeah.
But you have to get out there and talk. You think you're an extrovert?
I would say I'm a selective introvert.
Okay.
Because introverted. I'm an introvert like half the time, but I know like there's always that itch in the back of my head of like, all right, go talk to people. Like
Right.
you got to get out there. Like otherwise, like who's gonna like closed mouths don't get fed.
Exactly.
Nobody's gonna know who you are if you
Right.
don't tell them.
Right.
And so that's what I used
Yep.
to like motivate myself to talk to people and just make conversation of like whatever it may be.
Whatever. Yeah.
'Cause-
Compliment their shirt. Oh, UNC. Or
Yeah.
you ask questions and they want to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
So just open up. Open a question, get that ball started, and then it's just amazing what you will find out about other people. And and I think setting daily goals of getting out and meeting at least 2 new people.
Yeah.
And I think because if you want to reach more people, social media is great, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Connecting with new people on social media every day and sharing on
Yes.
social media. And you do a great job with that.
Oh,
I think a
thank you.
lot of people are afraid to kind of be bold, and it's not bragging, it's showing what you do.
No.
And I will hear from a lot of people like, I never post, and I just like to look and see what people are doing, and I think that's true with a lot of people. But they always will say, you always inspire me, what you're doing is really great, and I always just feel like doing more, and I like that. It makes me feel good.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, because you're helping other people make a better change.
Right. Yeah.
Tell me, how big of an inspiration did your parents play into the person that you are today?
No, that's a great question. 100%. I mean, well, like I said, they're both entrepreneurs. My mom started in real estate when my brother and I were in middle school, and that wasn't done that often. For her generation, like, women stay home.
All right.
And she just knew that she was meant for a lot more. She became the top realtor in Wisconsin. And she retired when she was 80, maybe 81. She's 88 now. And she regrets retiring. Honestly, I think she would have kept working if technology wasn't so challenging for her.
Yeah.
Because she didn't grow up with computers.
Yeah, right.
And it was just, and I think, being able to trust somebody else is also kind of hard sometimes, with computers. And
Oh, I'm
but so she showed us how to work hard. She had to work extremely hard in her field. And then my dad, he was a commercial, started off with a residential builder, and then grew into commercial, or built into commercial. And they owned, and we still own several mini warehouses, storage units. And That was before. I mean, now they're like everywhere. But we had some of the first storage units like in the country, and we still manage them. We still have several. So I think just showing that, you know, you go to a seminar, you learn about what's new, what's innovative, and then follow the advice and make the investment and work really hard and just keep growing. So
awesome.
I think, yeah, I kind of wonder if I didn't have them as role models, like who I would be. But
Yeah.
fortunately, I did.
Yeah.
And you know, and so my husband and I he's more of an introvert. He's very, very smart. He has MD and PhD degrees.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah,
My
and
wife
so-
is very much an
Okay, so we're a good balance.
Yes.
And so the kids, our 3 adult kids, I mean, they're almost 23 through 28. They have a little bit of both of us, but I've enjoyed seeing more of me coming out recently. I think more as they get into business.
Oh yeah.
And
I'm sure.
they are realizing you just have to really network. I mean,
do.
that's the key.
You do.
You know, and that's been really fun. Very, I mean, even like writing names down on the tub club
Yeah.
door was telling me, she said, Mom, I'm getting really good at remembering names because they have to spell the name. Like Adair is an example.
Okay.
She's like, how do you spell that? You know, and the person writes out, hi, Lucia. Adair has to write out, you know, she spells out her name. And I don't know, those things are just so key. So,
Yeah. So on that point of your kids, I was very impressed in that you were a stay-at-home mom for, what was it, 17 years, and then decided, I'm going to start up a wellness business.
Yeah, it was really, really what, I mean, I think the impetus or the background behind that is first of all, I loved the 17 years. I loved being a full-time mom, and it was really very rewarding. I never thought that, and I talk about this in my book, Charlie's medical practice would ever close.
Right.
You know, here he has 2 degrees, MD, PhD, great job, and it was bought out by a larger company, and so all of a sudden, he was faced with, what do I do? You know, so he was with a private practice, and he went with UNC Rex, but there were a couple weeks where it was actually probably one day. In my mind, it was like a year, where I did not have any extra income, you know, and Charlie didn't have income coming in, and we had 3 kids at private school. And it's like, you know, so I'm a big proponent in helping women have a plan B. If you have one great job, what else can you do just to make sure if the economy changes and, you know, your job is gone, what else can you do just to make, you know, extra income?
Right.
And I was already into health and wellness, and I partnered with the company, and I remember going to my first networking event. And I think I talked about this in the book about how I felt like I was on fire. I was like, I mean, you kind of forget when you're a mom, you don't really do that, you know?
No.
And I was with all these women, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Helping them with their health and meeting them and hearing about their businesses. And I'm like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And I got into it really quick. Like I just, you know, kind of like you. It's like I had the hustle.
Yeah,
And that's why I
yeah.
recognized it. I mean, I spoke with everybody who has kids who are sick. I want to help you. And I reached the top of the company in 3.5 years, which is really very fast. And it really was very rewarding. And I enjoyed like taking the kids shopping, you know, with my business credit card. You know, like this is my money that I earned.
Like,
and it was, I think, a good time for them because they were like middle school, going into high school, and they saw me as somebody, you know, like as their mom, but also as a successful business owner.
Right.
And it's been great. It's been really good.
I think that people that aren't entrepreneurs don't understand volatility that comes with being an entrepreneur. Of like those first couple of years, like it is the highest of highs and the
Yes,
lowest of lows.
100%.
But
And you can lose friends that way too.
yeah,
You know, because they may think that you're selling to them, or they may
exactly.
not like. I mean, there's a million reasons
They might not
to
see the
your
value
success, or
Yeah.
and you just have to believe in what you're doing and your path, and just stay strong.
Would
Yeah.
you say that those first few years were very crucial into the person you are now,
Yes.
entrepreneurship?
Yeah. I mean, I can think of just a handful of people that really kind of challenged me as to why I would do what my business.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to be totally strong. And yeah, and I think I saw then that I can do whatever I put my mind to it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and I look back and I think I'm so glad that, we had that stress in a way that
Yeah.
Charlie, because it gave me an opportunity to know that there's a lot more out there for me. And yeah,
It
it's
is,
been really great.
I can't remember who it was I heard talk about it, but they said if it's being on ground zero of like when you have your back against the wall, you'll fight back 10 times harder than you would if like, oh, I have a cushy job, I can
Right.
relax, I'll
Yeah.
pursue this later on.
Right.
But like when your back's against the wall, like I need to feed my kids.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't need this to work out 6 months from now. I need it to work out today.
No. Yeah. And I remember saying to the person that I was working with, like, how can I make this set amount of money per month? And she just looked at me, and it was a lot,
Yeah.
because she had never reached that,
Right.
and I totally surpassed that goal very quickly, because I talk about my book about vision boards.
Yeah.
I really, I'm a big believer on making, like seeing what you want to do. And I included our family. So trips were a big part of my vision boards. And I like to use the money that I made in my business for our trips. So, like when the kids, if there was something I couldn't attend because I was speaking or doing something for my business, well, I'm helping because we're gonna, go on this trip to Hawaii.
I'm gonna get this time back. Doing
Right,
this.
and then we'll have
That's
some
such a
time
good way of
together.
looking at
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But I think having those visuals, and I had my vision board changed every year right by my desk. So every time I'm like on a phone call, I'm looking at the vision board and just knowing why I'm doing this. So
Right.
it's big. You have to dream.
And tell me, I think you spoke about it in your book of like setting goals, but like big goals, like the Misogi of like goals that like
29 at Mount Everest.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
that was a huge.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, so there's an event called 29 that Jesse Itzler from All Day Running Co. started with some other people, and you climb the equivalent of Mount Everest, so 29,029 feet, and he rents out different mountains. He has like 8 different places now, and so we trained for 9 months. We had coaches, and my husband and I would go to Georgia, Virginia. We're trying to get like altitude, because here there's no altitude. But going up to Georgia, climbing up really high, we could kind of simulate the altitude change, because we chose Snow Basin in Utah as our Everest. So we climbed up 13 times, and it was equivalent to 30 miles. And we did it in 34 hours. We had 36 hours to finish it.
Oh my goodness.
So it was, and we had the craziest of weather. We had snow, we had rain, we had lightning. We had lightning that shut down the gondola. So you hike up and then you take the gondola down. And we had lightning that struck the gondola, shut out the entire system. So that was for 2 hours. It was just, but again, we both agreed we were going to do this, and
Yeah.
you get a red hat, which is not even a big deal, but it's the rights of, you climbed the equivalent of Mount Everest, and it was just, I get emotional thinking about it.
I'm
And it was
sure.
so cool to train so hard for it and to do it, and it was hard. Like, you are going
I'm sure.
straight up a mountain, hiking poles, and then the altitude. There were several people that didn't make it because of altitude sickness, but we we really trained for that. Like that was part of our preparation, and the
Yeah.
coaches were great with it. But just that belief that we were going to do it, that we can
Determination.
that we can climb Mount Everest, and it's really cool. So
So,
yeah.
so do you sometimes look at the goals you set and think, like, because I know me personally, I've had this happen of that moment of like you accomplish the task and then you go, that was it, like, or like you go almost like I could have aimed way higher. Do you ever have those moments of like you set out a goal and you're like, I need to go next time. I need to go even higher, like
Yeah,
aim high, the highest I possibly can.
somebody taught me one time, and it was really good advice to really celebrate that accomplishment. And yes, you always want to strive for more, but I think I think our society is just like, you ran the race, okay, great,
What's the
and
next thing?
yeah, I mean, I still get emotional talking about every one of these big goals because it was such a big thing.
Yeah.
And and I think when you set a goal that's like a year long or maybe 5 years long, 10 years long, um, you just have to keep focused, and I think doing these things has definitely made me want to do definitely more.
Yeah.
Like I'd love to write another book, and impact more people. And I don't know what that is yet. I have some ideas, but yeah,
You're watching it grow.
yeah, just keep watching it grow.
Um, so you strike me as a person who loves to be very present.
Very what?
You strike me as a person who loves to be very present,
Very present.
very
Yes.
in the moment.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
do you do that?
I think it's just really trying to obviously have the phone down and just eye contact.
Okay.
And I think I just see our society as being less present.
Yeah.
And so just to be, and it makes the person feel so good, right? Like when
Yeah.
you're having a dialogue with somebody and you know that your phone's not ringing, or um, I'm very purposeful when I'm with somebody to be present. And I think
Right.
that's the best way to do it.
You form a deeper connection.
Right, deeper connection. And like if you go to a networking event, and I talked about this in the class today, um, just talk to one person and really talk to that person before moving on.
Yeah.
Get something really cool that you know about them before moving on,
Right.
and make it meaningful. Because then you're going to go back and see that same person again, and you're going to have this relationship with them. And I think just like with you, following up with that person,
Right.
somehow get a way to follow up with them. And I think Instagram or any social media is
Yeah.
easy, and just send a quick message. As I said, the group that I spoke with this morning, already I have all these messages, from LinkedIn, Instagram. One person that I gave my number for
Yeah.
a book connection,
Uh-huh.
He already wrote me a note,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
and I'll remember. His name is Dylan. I'll remember him because of that. So
How can you keep so many names like just in like this database? Like,
well, I use my phone
okay,
a lot for.
you use your
I
note-
use my
You
note.
were talking about
Yep,
that. In
my
your-
notes app. So, and I practice a lot. But before, like we have a running club in our neighborhood, and so before I go to that, it's once a month, and we plan it. Before I start, I'm looking at the names. I'm like, okay, this person was here last month, and just refreshing my memory, their dog's name, just random things that are not random to them,
Right.
and then just refreshing. Anytime, like for you, anytime you come in here, kind of like you've met people, just refreshing their names and who they are. So.
Yeah. Something you didn't get to talk about today in your talk was you had a section on dreaming, right?
Say it again?
You had what was it?
Oh, a section on dreaming. Yes.
On dreaming?
Yes.
Tell me about that. What was that about?
Yeah. I think that we just stopped dreaming, honestly. Like my husband, like I would set like New Year's goals every year, and it was just not something that he would ever do. He sees patients, and his goal is to help them survive and to live longer, right?
Right.
So I've always been a dreamer, and I think my parents instilled that in me. And I feel like that is something that really, it's kind of like when I took an art class once, and the instructor said, she gave us some paints, and she said, I want you to paint what you think an elephant looks like, but I want you to think of it as a 5-year-old. Like, how would you paint it when you were 5? Because when you get older, you have, 8 years old, people are telling you that's not what an elephant looks like.
Yeah.
And then you get into, middle school, high school, and people keep saying, no, that's not how you do it. But if you just like go back to that childhood imagination and dreaming, I like to ask people, what do they want to be when they were young, and what they are now, and how different that is. It's kind of like with Dorit. She wanted to be on a D1 team, and she dreamt that. She believed it, and I think going back to the 5 people you surround yourself around, what are those people dreaming about? And tell them your dreams and have them support you in your dreams.
That's so important. The reason I ask that is because I'm a very big believer in manifestation.
Yes.
I think that it's literally created everything that I have today. It was believing something before you could see it.
Yep.
To then create.
What's an example? Something. What's something that you?
I'm trying to think. The biggest one for me was, so before I started my marketing agency, I was a nurse.
Okay.
And I thought that's what I wanted to do. I was more so looking at it from the aspect of as a nurse, there's so many avenues you could go down. You could work in so many kind of departments, and you make good money. And I thought, that's the safe option. Mm-hmm. But I started when it was right before COVID hit, and I worked in an ER.
Whoa.
And so,
oh my gosh, that must have been so
I
stressful.
saw the worst of the worst.
Right.
And I think after that, I told myself, this is just not for me.
Right.
I said that I've got to get out of this. I've just got to do something else.
Yeah.
And so I had been competing in jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts since I was 11. Nobody really covered the sport at the time, so I was capturing all my own content.
Yeah.
Then from there, I just kept getting better and better until people started asking me, hey, will you do some stuff for me? Will you shoot our fall pictures? Or will you I have a competition coming up, will you do that? Oh, I have a business, will you do some stuff for us? Until the point that I was able to scale it so much to where I could quit my job. And that was something that
gives me goosebumps. That's so cool, Jazz. Wow.
And I remember still to this day of working 12-hour shifts, and either I would sometimes sneak off into an office or something on my lunch break or whatever, and I would be editing. And I remember I would leave my 12-hour shift, go home, edit for 4 hours.
Because you're passionate about it.
And then be back up the next day doing it all over again. And all I could tell myself during that time was, this is all going to be worth it when I can finally say, I did it.
Yeah.
And I say, I told you so.
And you did it. I love it. That's so good.
So
Yeah. And you manifested that. You truly did. And you incorporated the passions and and the people that you're meeting.
Yes.
And how they are connecting you to different other opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's your own time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure you're a great nurse. Yeah, but you're being more fulfilled with what you're doing now.
Yes. And now I'll do the same thing. I'm running on 5 hours of sleep. I was up editing last night crazy.
Right.
And it doesn't even faze me.
Because you love it.
Because I love it. And
it's
so
passion.
Nothing feels like work anymore.
Right.
It's just here's me, here's the goal.
Yep.
How can we get there?
Right. So cool. And you're just going to keep soaring.
Yeah.
You are, because you have all the skills.
There's only one way to go.
That's right. Yeah. That's right.
but yeah, like I remember even what was so instrumental in being able to manifest it too was not just believing it, but also like putting it into practice. Like I could sit here and say like, oh, I'm going to be the best at this or
Right.
whatever, but like unless you really put yourself out there and like put yourself in uncomfortable positions to where you're very vulnerable. Like I don't like getting up early in the morning, so I'm going to get up early.
Right.
I don't like public speaking, so I'm going to public speak.
Right.
And through those things, it's like you feel like that extra pump of like, you know what? I am great.
You did it, exactly.
Right.
And you're a master at remembering names. And, you know, it's just,
Remembering names.
it's just repeating those small steps that make you better.
Exactly.
And, yeah.
It's small wins leading to the bigger win.
Right.
And a big part of it too was seeing other people that were on that same trajectory and reading books on people who have done it in the past.
Right.
Like when you started up your business, were there any key figures that you looked to for inspiration, or any books that you read that you were like, I attribute a lot of my success to?
I have so many, honestly. Really? I mean, How to Win Friends and Influence People is the first one, you know, Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
Which is a classic.
I'm reading that right now.
Yeah, it's a classic. I mean, and I've taken some of the tips, you know, made it into a shorter version just because a lot of people don't have the time to stick to it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I'm so glad you said that one, because that's I hear everyone say that.
Yeah. Harvey Mackay, when I was first starting out, I don't know if you know that name. I don't know if he's still publishing, but he wrote some really good business books and about sales, more sales related.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, I could take a picture of my bookcase and show you, because it's just, I mean, there's a lot of financially, that book I mentioned in class today, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Setif, I think is how you say his last name. So good.
Oh yeah, I watched his. He has a Netflix.
Yes, isn't it great?
Kind of like a docu-series.
Yes,
yeah,
it's really,
so awesome.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of key ones were Napoleon Hill.
Yep.
Have you ever heard of Napoleon Hill?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Robert Kiyosaki. That's not. They're gonna start to come to me now.
Yeah. I haven't read that one, but I want to. Napoleon Hill is so big.
It starts with why. You need to know somebody's why. You know, like why are they doing something, and it just like opens up doors. You know, if it's health, you know, my family has some health issues. Well, they want to fix that, right? You know, so if you can, but that book is really good. It starts with why. Yeah. I read a lot. I still do read a lot. I think it's really, and listen to Audible books. I mean, my car is like my, university.
It is.
Because you could just listen, to a whole bunch of things. And TED Talks actually are a really good source of learning.
Yeah.
They're short, and it's a variety. You can find exactly what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me, what is the process? What is your process for setting goals? Because that's one thing I want to be better about. Like right now, I think I'm very much, and I'm sure a lot of people my age are similar in that, like, they have a big goal, and then it's just like having a bunch of little battles until you get there.
Right.
But not having like a clear outline. Like I know you were talking about like Jesse's big ass calendar.
Yes. Number one, order
one.
that. Yep.
I'm ordering
my
one
2025
today.
just arrived. That is the way to do it, because you put your big goal up there, and then you see, because you can change the colors. So have like my misogi is purple, and you can see the steps that you're taking. So one of my goals was a certain number of speaking events, and so every time I would have a speaking event, I put it in purple, up, like today, UNC Business School. So you can see, are you actually making are you making a difference in that goal? Are you getting closer to it? And I think also give yourself checkpoints. So if it's a year goal, at 1 month, where do you want to be? It's easy to say, like with money or running a race. If you want to say you want to save $5,000 by 1 year from now, okay, how are you going to do that every day? Are you going to put $10 into an account every single day? And then at 1 month, you should have, what would that amount be? 30 times 10,
Like
300,
no,
$300, right?
Yeah.
Is it 3,000? Wait,
No, 300.
$300, right?
Yeah, 300.
Okay, well, you're getting closer. Maybe you need to up it then,
Yeah.
And so it's really, because I think what's so frustrating is when you set a big goal and then it's November and you're like, I haven't done anything, So to really make sure, and I also would get a coach or an accountability or accountability partner. When I was writing my book, I set a goal of writing 500 words per day. And I've had different people say, "Oh, that's not very many words per day." I write 1,000 words per day. I'm like, okay, where's your book? I mean, it's consistently I didn't take a day off. I wrote 500 minimum. And there were days when it would just flow and I would type a lot more.
Yeah.
But I didn't listen to those people because I'm like, I'm going to just stick with 500 words. That's doable. And my goal, another misogi that I had was to start and publish my book within 1 year. And I did it in 362 days between the time I started writing the very first word to when the books arrived at my house. But I was so driven. A month before my misogi is over, I didn't have a publisher, editor. I got kind of just stuck and I didn't know where to go. And I reached out to somebody from my all-day running community, and we had a Zoom, and he's like, okay, Robin, this is who you need to reach out for your publisher. This is who you need to, and I literally got the phone, did all that, and he looked at me, and I remember, and he believed in me. He said, you will finish this book, and you will have it in your hands in 30 days. And I did. But I was so focused on that goal because I really wanted that to happen. I think I would have felt like I failed if I hadn't done that.
Yeah.
So it was my commitment to myself and got it done. And we had a huge party at the Umstead Hotel. My family came in and it was really great.
Oh,
the
that's
day
awesome.
the book arrived, I took a lot of chance on it arriving then too, because I set the date, for the party and
Right.
but
I didn't think about that.
it held me accountable to that.
Yeah.
So
How do obviously you have an accountability coach.
yep.
How do you hold yourself accountable? Are there any mantras? Are there any do you write? Do you keep a
I
journal?
do have a lot of mantras. I have a really good friend who has come up from Canada who has written out these beautiful mantras. I do challenges that keep me accountable. So have you heard of 75 Hard?
Yeah.
And we talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first
Tell
time
them
I met
about
you.
Yeah, tell them about your.
Yeah, so I
75
did
Hard.
75 Hard. I finished it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it kept me accountable. Like every day, I would drink a gallon of water. So that way, you have to, by 10 o'clock, I need to have a big Awala of 40 ounces already finished. Because if you wait till 8 o'clock at night, you cannot drink a full gallon of water. So that's kind of a good example of just breaking it down into small steps. But you have to exercise twice a day, 45 minutes. One has to be outside. Read 10 pages of nonfiction books every day. Gosh, what are the other things? So I'm in 3 weeks now, and I'm already like, I think the biggest thing was the exercise, just the twice a day. It just made me so accountable. And actually today I was thinking, I'm like, I kind of miss having 2 a day. I ran this morning, and I'm like, I think I need to go for a walk this afternoon. Just get outside and do that second. But find something that will keep you accountable. A lot of people say 21 days, it's a habit. Maybe that's it for you, is 21 days.
Right.
And have it on your calendar, on your big ass calendar, you write down when you're starting and where 21 days is and check it off every single day. And, start over again if you missed. But I think that's the best way for me to accomplish goals.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very awesome.
Yeah.
The reason I ask this is because I am very bad about maybe having that visual in front of me would be very good for me because I'm very self-critical, and so a lot of what drives me is like me telling myself of like, all right, you did it, but like, let's keep going. Keep on to the next
I
thing.
think just I've heard you say that now twice. I think you need to really celebrate those
Yeah.
wins. Make it a big deal. You know, like this was your goal, celebrate it, enjoy it, and then think, okay, what's next?
Right.
But just take that time to just say, you know what, I did that, and that was huge.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so my mind immediately goes to, okay, what if I celebrate too much though? Because I don't want to like, I don't know, I don't want to like celebrate too much and then let the time pass by.
Give yourself a day.
Yeah.
Don't give yourself time. Like give it a day,
Yeah.
or whatever it is. Go for
right.
a trip, you know,
Right,
a
right,
weekend trip or something. But then back at it.
And like sometimes I'm my own like worst enemy.
Right.
Of like, I'm like a drill sergeant on
But
myself.
I think you get to be careful of that too.
Oh, for sure.
Because that's, I think it's counterproductive.
It is. It
You
is
have to
very
just,
counterproductive.
and that's why you need people that are supporting you, that are like,
Yeah.
you know what, you're doing great. Like this is, or form a small business group of people that are, doing similar, maybe different businesses, but,
Right.
and
on that same goal of succeeding
right.
or being
Yep.
better.
And sharing those goals, because I think
Yeah.
that's, I think people are so afraid to share their goals, whether
Right.
it's a weight goal or a running goal or whatever it is, because they're afraid to fail.
Yes.
And you know what? I have failed so many times. I mean, everybody fails.
Yes.
But I like to focus on what I've won, what I've reached, and just keep going.
And I'll tell you, I see that from all aspects of like, I've gotten better about dealing with my fear of failure, but I can easily see and understand people that like, you see it on both sides of like, I am very self-critical and very hard on myself because I'm scared to fail.
Right.
And then you'll have the other side of that coin, which is people won't even start because they're so scared to fail.
I know somebody very well that is that way, and it's like you just want to say, it's okay,
Right.
just do it. And, maybe that door closes for a reason, and then all of a sudden
for
something
sure.
else happens.
I've had that happen so many times.
So I think if you could just keep reminding yourself that it's okay to fail, We
Yeah.
don't want to fail a lot. You want to keep
Right.
winning, but you just have, those failures are going to make you stronger, and you're going to learn from them. And you're going to say, you know what, I'm not going to do it that way next time. I'm going to try it this way.
Yeah.
So,
On that topic of overcoming the fear of failure, can you talk about a time where you were very scared of doing something, but you did it anyway and you got over that fear of failure?
I don't know why I thought I'm going to run for president of my class. And I wasn't, super popular. And I had friends, but like a very small group of friends. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to run for this and just see. And, did my posters, campaigned, wrote my speech, and actually won. But I was nervous to think about what people, you always think about what people are going to say, right?
Of course.
Erin Matson, the head coach for UNC field hockey, she had a shirt on during the ACC tournament, like warm-ups. Something about you're not if they like you, you're not winning enough.
Yeah.
It's like you may have people that don't like to
Yeah.
see you succeed.
Exactly.
But
That's when if you have haters, you're doing something right.
you're doing something well, and
Exactly.
I think that's a good way to look at it.
Did you end up winning?
I did. I won. I was class president.
Very cool.
It was really fun. It was a great experience.
And after you won, did you think, why was I even scared in the first place?
Yeah, like it's so silly what your mind does, and your beliefs, and yeah.
I come from a family of first generation immigrants, and I think where my fear of failure comes from a lot is from that of like, put your head down and work.
Right.
Like that's very much the mindset, and it's like don't, and not even out of like because my parents didn't think I was capable, but I think it was mainly of like my parents just wanted the best for me,
Right.
and they wanted me to be safe and secure, and like telling them like, hey, I'm just gonna quit my 9 to 5 and like
I was just going to ask you about that. How
jump into the world of entrepreneurship. It's like
it's scary, and they're
Yeah.
afraid for you, even though
Yeah.
they want to support you.
it's like it's very out of the norm for them
Right.
because they're very much of that mindset of like put your head down and work and
Do 9 to 5 or
do
12-hour
another-
days, and
yep, and just keep it going until
And I'm
we're-
sure they're so proud of you now. Like
yeah,
it's just
yeah, because of all the things I get to do. Like
right.
I got to go to Spain I think it was last month, out on business.
Wow,
And,
that is so cool. Like you never would have done that
No,
staying, in that former job. So
exactly.
yep,
So I would have never even thought that was possible.
right.
So I think I was also very blessed in that even though they were of that mindset, they never really put any kind of rules on me as far as like they let me explore different things of like, oh, you want to try out for football? Go ahead. You want to try out for soccer? Go ahead. Or
Right.
you want to try out for this club? Yeah, go ahead. Like they
Right.
never really held me to anything.
Right.
It was more so like, what are you interested in? Okay,
That's
go do it
awesome.
and see if it works.
Yep.
It just happened to be like martial arts or something that I
Right.
stuck to and been doing it ever since.
And you're happy.
And I'm happy.
And
I think that's all they worried about.
Right.
So
That's-
how, when it came to parenting, what did you apply similar? What were some of the methods that you learned from your parents that you took on to you as a parent? Like what were
I think
some
number
things?
one was just not quitting. If you start a sport, stick with it through the whole season, even if you don't really love it. Or piano lessons, guitar lessons, same type of thing. I don't know why I'm feeling like I should share this story, but so I mentioned, my husband has his MD and PhD degrees, and we were married through all of that. So it was,
Yeah.
and when my husband proposed, he called my dad first, and my dad, we were on a payphone because, we didn't have cell phones, and I heard him say, right, Mr. Kimball, I have 4 years medical school, 4 years PhD, residency, internship, and then I'll practice. And he's like, okay, thank you, Mr. Kimball. He hung up. And I said, what did my dad say? He said, he wants to think about it. Because it was just like too much time,
Wow.
commitment.
Yeah.
So anyway, when Charlie finished all of, those degrees and he was doing his internship at Ohio State in Columbus, Ohio. And he was working crazy hours. Like he saw patients, he was running his own lab, and he was a professor. And we had 3 kids. And it was just like, you know what? I just was like, you're missing out. Our family's missing out on him being the dad, and he's missing out on all of these things that they're doing. And he could always go back to doing research. Okay.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
came home one time, and I'm like, Charlie, what would you think about leaving your PhD, like focusing solely on medicine, just practice, being a doctor? And he was like, wow. And he's like, what would you want? What would I do? I'm like,
Right.
well, you could interview wherever and be, a oncologist. And
Yeah.
because he's really good with people and not spend your time, writing grants and working with mice and labs and teaching and he did it.
Was it a hard transition for him, or he
No.
just
Just
stick
kind
to
of
it?
like with you, it was like he looks back now and he's like, I can't even imagine still doing what he was doing. Part of me, I felt badly because we need more research for, cancer. But I also am like, this is our family. Like, this is really important. He has not missed one field hockey game. The kids are all into violin. He attended everything, and they saw him, being an active dad. And I just think it was really important.
Oh, for sure. Like, I think, would you say it's fair to assume that that's a big problem nowadays of like parents not being emotionally
Present, yeah.
available or
Yeah.
just present in general?
Right. And I think, honestly, I do believe that our kids are happy and well balanced because we had both of us. Like we talked about, we're both very different, and they weren't only getting me, they were
Right.
getting their dad too,
Right.
and it's been such a blessing.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, yeah. He doesn't look back and say, "Gosh, I wish I was still in that research
Yeah,
lab."
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Tell me about why it's so important to pay yourself first.
I love that. So, paying yourself first. My first year of business, I totally forgot about taxes, and it was like I don't even know how that happened,
Yeah.
but we had to scramble,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so right after that first time I had to pay taxes, I I actually put 10% every single paycheck, no matter what the amount was, into my tax folder.
Yeah.
And then I did the same for credit cards. And then I did the same for travel and, furniture, whatever and my mom actually taught my twin and I, my brother and I, when we were very young, about having buckets. So, and this is before like online banking, but you'd go to a bank and she would literally have 8 different savings accounts.
Oh, wow.
And it just works. Like you pay yourself first, and you forget that you have that money. So it's not like you think, okay, I have $1,000 to spend, because you've already divvied it up.
Yeah.
And whatever else is extra, you can spend, but you pay the priorities first, and it makes such a difference.
Um, how how crucial do you think that is for like kids, especially kids coming out of college, to like have
yeah.
those methods in place?
If they can start and do that, it's so important. Like they can. The story I shared, in class today, credit cards can get you in trouble so fast. Transferring money, debt to another credit card looks great until the 3 months are up at 0% interest, and then
Right.
you have a 28% interest that you're paying on that money, and you can't even pay the minimum then.
No.
It's just too expensive. It's just too much. So. I think if more high school, college students could get into that habit, and save for a house or save for a car, have one of your buckets be a new car, and then and then when it comes time to buy your car, you have the money,
Right. Exactly.
and it feels so good because you're not putting it on a loan. You're actually using the money that you put aside.
Right.
So.
And another thing you talk about that's very important to do is have adventures. Like go on mini adventures and have a big adventure. Like,
Yeah.
tell me why you think that's so important.
Yeah.
And if you could share some of your adventures. Like,
Yeah.
I know you spoke about in your book about you snapped your tricep. Is that what it was?
God,
Or your
yeah.
elbow?
It was my tricep. My tricep. I shattered my elbow and shattered my tricep. It was what is that the? Is that it? Is this your tricep? Yeah, it was my tricep. Because I remember when I went in for the surgery, the woman who was checking me in, she's like, that's a really unusual injury for a female. It's like bodybuilders typically can have that injury. But yeah, we as a family, like even when our son was 2 years old, we would go on backpacking trips and camp, and all 3 love to be outdoor and camp, and they've gone on trips together, just the 3 of them, which is really fun. Just this weekend, we like to find new places to go and explore. We found this place in Raleigh that's called Robertson Mill Pond Creek. And you're in this like all of these bald cypresses, and you just see nobody. Like it's just, we saw a few people, but I mean, it's so quiet and it's so peaceful. And as I said, that's how I recharge, is getting out in nature and listening to the birds, seeing animals. And but we like to do pretty adventurous trips, and it's really fun. I just feel like it's just, I don't know, it's exciting.
You'd even spoke about you took a trip to Chile, right?
Patagonia, yes.
Patagonia.
Oh my gosh. I
What was
literally was
that
just
like?
going to say that.
Yeah.
So what was really neat is Oliver, Lydia, and Dorrit, they started off on a backpacking trip first over there. And they did what's called the O Circle, and then we met up with them. So they were like out in this incredible and very tough adventurous trip. And then we met up with them, but we did ice climbing. We went kayaking in the ice. And this is in Patagonia. It was beautiful. Just all these really cool things that just, I don't know, I think just memories forever, as our family,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was beautiful.
I definitely want to establish something like that with my family. I think that would be so much
Yeah.
fun. Let's say, what does your normal day look like? Because, I've formed as part of my Misogi, one of my big challenges is getting up really early in the
Yep.
morning, getting up at 5 every morning,
Yep.
and sometimes I'll look and I'm like, I'm feeling like a boss today.
Yeah.
And then I'll look and you've already been up an hour and you've ran like 2 or 3 miles or hiked up a mountain.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be like Robin.
Well, I go to bed early. That's
Yeah,
number one.
yeah,
If you're going to get up early, you have to go to bed early.
Okay.
Usually 4:45 is when I get up. Sometimes 5, but I like to just get up and get a run in or do some kind of exercise first thing in the morning. And like today, I left the house at 8 because I was speaking at UNC Business School, and then this interview. And every day is different. I mean, some days I go birding.
Yeah,
It's my own business,
Yeah, I've
and
seen
so my 88-year-old mom just moved here, so I've been with her more, and it's just been, I don't know, it's a great life.
Always a fun day.
Yeah, it is always a fun day. We have our business in Wisconsin still, so I'm involved with that,
awesome.
and then if the kids are doing something and I want to support them, go to field hockey in Michigan.
Yeah.
We do. Charlie's practice. He has Fridays as like a clinic day. Non-clinic day. So we can leave Thursday night, and we've set that up like 5-6 years ago. He was off every Friday. So we have that time that we can, really travel with the team and with Dora and be present.
Yeah.
Instead of, I've got to work, I'm going to miss out on this. And so he works really hard, those 4 days. And then, he takes phone calls, and same with me, but it's not like, but we can be present.
Yeah.
So.
Tell me, what's your relationship with birds? Like, obviously your name is Robin.
Yeah.
What, because me and my wife are obsessed with birds.
Okay.
Like,
I love that.
like even like in a spiritual sense of like, we have blue jays that hang around our house all the time. And I can't remember where I saw it, but somebody had said that blue jays are a sign that like somebody in heaven, or somebody that's a loved one that's
Keeping
gone,
you safe and they're
like,
protecting.
They're like showing you like, hey, we're still around.
Right, yeah.
So I've always had kind of like that connection
Yeah.
to it of like, that gives me some comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your relationship?
My name's Robin, number one. So I kind of was gifted with that name, but my we grew up on top of a hill, and there were just beautiful, it was like a stream and a lot of trees and a lot of birds. So we always had birds kind of like outside. But when we moved to Dublin, Ohio for Charlie to start his residency, I saw my first bluebird. And it's different than a blue jay. I don't know if you've ever seen a bluebird. They're around here. They're beautiful.
Okay.
You have to look them up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the most beautiful bird. They have this, they wear the sky on their back and the earth on their belly, so it's like bright blue, and then kind of like a rust chest. And I'm like, that is so cool. Well, then I read in a magazine about this person, Darlene Sillick, who they were becoming extinct because trees are being cut down, and that's where they would nest, is in dead trees. And so there was a big campaign where people would put up bird houses, just nest boxes, just for bluebirds and some songbirds. And I became obsessed. I wanted to meet this person. I wanted to learn how to help bluebirds come back. And so I kept sending her messages, kind of like that hustle, And,
Right.
and I found out she was speaking at a library. And so I took 3 kids, went to the library, and I walked up and I said, I am Robin Eisenbeis. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I have a full-time job. I haven't been able to respond. But she's like, I want to give you one of my top trails. And so it was around this pond. I had 20 boxes to check every week. So the kids and I would go out on our bikes and we would make notes of, how many eggs and how many birds hatched, and it was the coolest thing. So, and then she would help birds that were injured, so like owls, and she's such a cool person, and I'm still friends with her today. So she really was the one, I think, that kind of just opened up my eyes to this whole really cool world. And I had somebody once tell me that my spirit animal is an eagle.
There you
And
go.
I'm like, and I like to photograph, and so now, as you know, I'm just learning how to take photos, and birds are hard to take photos
Yeah,
of.
very
And so, so it's just been a couple of months, but that's been my new passion, is incorporating the birds with photography.
Very
So,
cool.
yeah.
And tell me, we'll end on this.
Okay.
You're birding, you're constantly pursuing new goals, you're putting your health and your family first. What, of all the things that you're doing, like, what is there left? What is there left to do? What
wow.
mountain do you still have to climb?
I think just traveling more. When
Yeah.
Charlie retires in a few years, I think just really staying healthy so we can actually go and do the things that, like,
Yeah.
hike and do the things that we want to do. That's why I do it all the time.
Yeah.
And seeing the world, like, in a totally different perspective. Whether it's a biking trip or hiking or kayaking. I think that's what I really want to do, is just see the world. Yeah.
That's awesome.
This was so fun. I loved it.
It was.
It was great. Thank you.
All right, one more thing. If you could give your younger self a piece of advice, what would you say?
Set even bigger goals and just dream bigger. Because I had the belief in myself, and it's just, you just have to believe you can do whatever you set your mind to. Meet the right people and consistently do, the training, whatever that is, and just get out there. Yeah, I think just like that, doing that 30-mile, event was like, sign up for a 5K.
Yeah, exactly. What's the worst that can happen?
Right. I mean, I could be really sore for a few days, and I was, but I did it.
Yeah.
So, I think just dreaming more. I think just, and learning how to remember names at a very young age.
Yeah.
I think that just can take people so far. So,
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Robin Kimball Eisenbeis, and I am the author of A Gift for Life, Skills Everyone Needs to Win. You can purchase this book at any bookstore, Amazon, and it's also on Audible. You can follow me on Dare to Dream with Robin on Instagram, on Facebook, Robin Kimball Eisenbeis, and on LinkedIn, Robin Kimball Eisenbeis. And my website is www.agiftforlifebook.com.